Hey everybody, Aaron here. So, I apologize in advance. Like, obviously, this Q&A video it's taken me, I want to say like what, a month now past what I should have been done with already. And I told everyone that I'd have this thing done in early February, like the second week of February. And of course, now we're in the first week, starting actually the second week of actually March. And I feel bad about that. I really did not mean to make you guys and girls wait so long for this Q&A. It's more so just so much crap happened to me that made me lose interest in doing it. At one point, I got really kind of, I don't want to say upset, but I was like stressed out at one point. And then of course with what happened to me, which I'm not gonna talk about here. I talked about it in one of my live reviews, and I felt kind of bad talking about it there because I don't like really talk about that stuff on YouTube at least. But I talked about it on Twitter, so you obviously know what happened to me just a few weeks ago. But I am trying now to get back into the swing of things of the videos that I did promise people, like for example, light novel review stuff and all that. But I figured first and foremost, before anything else, I have to start with the Q&A. I have to do that. That has to come in priority. So we're gonna start this Q&A. Hopefully you guys enjoy. So first question from my friend Memory NK: what advice would you give to someone who's trying to become a reviewer? So this is, mind you, this is advice coming from a small YouTuber because obviously I've only have right now 779 as of this video going up. But the one thing I'll say is if you want to at least get to somewhere near my level, at least this is from my opinion, okay? My advice to you is first and foremost, you're going to start YouTube in probably one of two ways. One is going to be where you just want to do it out of the whim. You're going to be like, I want to do YouTube. I want to see how everyone does this and how it's so much fun doing this, etc. But the other thing you're going to do most likely is you're going to take someone's style and you'd be like, oh, I love how this reviewer, I love this girl, or I love this dude who does these reviews. I want to do something like that, exactly like that. And then you start noticing that you make videos based off that style. That's okay, that's all fine and good when you first start. But if you really want to become big on YouTube, and this is something you can see mimicked from all the big YouTubers in general, you want to find your own style. You want to find your own voice and your own way of doing things. And I think that, for me at least, when I started doing it based off of how I felt was comfortable, that's where I started seeing success on my channel. That's where I started seeing people comment and go, I love your content, I love your videos, etc. And yeah, I'm not 1,000 subscribers yet, obviously. I mean, hopefully this video helps me get there, but I'm joking. But, it's something where you find your own style, and once you find your own style, it becomes not only more fun to do YouTube, but also more, I think, engaging. But even beyond that, you'll find that your channel grows, and you'll start seeing more and more subscribers and more people that comment, etc. But remember, guys and girls, I'll tell you this right now. YouTube is not an easy game to get into, and I think everyone can tell you that, especially if you do anime reviews, because anime reviewers, we don't get a lot of love, I hate to say. We have a lot of issues that we face in the anime community. We also have a lot of issues we face on YouTube in terms of, copyright strikes for people that just do normal reviews or live reactions or live reviews like I do, for example. But, nonetheless, don't give up. You might only see like 10 views or even like 5 views on your first videos, and even when you hit 100 subscribers, you're only going to see maybe like 20 at your most. Here's the thing, and I learned this from another YouTuber that hit like I think 100K recently, and they don't do reviews per se, but they do other videos. But it's very true. You're only gonna ever see a certain amount of your subscribers watch your content, and that's just the plain and simple, because not everything's gonna appeal to someone. Like, you can review 30 different series on the channel that you do, but maybe only 2 of them are appealing to one person, and then maybe another 5 are appealing to another person, etc. So don't expect every one of your videos to be like, oh, I'm always going to get 5,000 views, or I'm going to always get 10,000 views. That happens when you get more popular, or if you get really lucky and one of your videos blows up, because that happens sometimes too. But you have to make sure to keep going, keep pushing at it, and over time you'll notice your channel grow, and when it grows, you'll have more fun doing it. But definitely don't be afraid to start out small and to definitely grow as a channel and as a person on YouTube in general if you're reviewing, video games or anime. This question is from Kaga Console. Did you watch the Puppy Bowl? LOL, just kidding. For real now, are you a Pokemon fan? If so, what's your favorite Pokemon of all time? What is your favorite video game of all time? And what's your favorite anime video game character of all time? And what characters do you prefer? So yeah, I watched a little bit of the Puppy Bowl. Puppies. How can you not like puppies? Puppies are small, cute animals. If you don't like puppies, you have to go and sit down and think about your life a little bit. Be like, what choices have I made in life that made me stop liking puppies? something wrong with you. And I'm not gonna get into it because there's something very wrong with people who like puppies. No, but seriously, in terms of Pokemon, I was a huge fan of Pokemon when I was a kid. Obviously, as I got older, I kind of grew out of Pokemon. To be honest with you, my favorite Pokemon would probably be Charizard if I had to choose out of the million Pokemon that now exist. In terms of video games, my favorite video game series definitely has to be Persona. I love the Persona series. Persona 3 and 4, probably Persona 3 is my favorite out of the whole series. Persona 4 is definitely good, but I even love the rhythm game, like the Persona Dancing All Night, and even the Arena, which was the fighting game, which was awesome too. So I love that whole series in general, the whole franchise I love. In terms of video game characters, that's a tough one. I mean, honestly, I don't know if I have a favorite video game character. I was thinking about this and it kind of just came to mind. I really do like Ike from the Fire Emblem series. I thought Ike was really cool. I mean, he was my main in Super Smash Brothers Brawl, I think. And in terms of anime characters, also a very hard one because I've seen so much anime, but I definitely like Kiritsugu from Fate Zero. I think he's so badass. Or even like Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop. Those characters are always my favorite in anime. 88 Expert asked me, the first anime you watched in your life, how's life, and worst job you ever took in your life? The first anime I ever watched, I tell people this a lot, I technically consider Guyver. That was like the first actual like real anime I saw, because I mean, of course you could name like Digimon and Pokemon as anime too, of course. If we're going into realism territory, those are the first ones I started, but the ones that really ever got me into anime was stuff like Guyver, which Bio Boosted Armor Guyver. If you love like action and mature rated stuff, it's definitely the way to go. In terms of how's life going, that's going well. I mean, for the most part, I'm alive and healthy, so I definitely can't complain about that. As many of you know, my recent, issues, of course, like a breakup and other stuff, have been the best thing in the world to deal with. Definitely been hard, and it's on my end harder than the other person's end, obviously, which makes it even worse sometimes when you think about it. But I'm alive and healthy, and I thank God for that. I mean, I have no issue ever saying that I thank God for that. But so that's a good thing. And the worst job I ever took in my life, in terms of working, I haven't really worked too many jobs in my life. I'll be honest with this, and more so, the only ever job that I really had was I did this recycling thing at my school for a long time. That sucked. I'll be honest with you. That was really a nightmare. I did that out of I didn't get any rewards out of that. I got candy once in a while for it, but there was a lot of work to be done with that because I had to go from all the classrooms. I had to get recycling stuff, and I had to put into jars, and then not jars, excuse me, bins, and then I had to take those bins and put them into a giant storage facility. And then I had to make sure that the bins were all evenly distributed. You had to make sure that you threw stuff in certain bins. Otherwise, you later on would hear something about it, like, oh hey, one of you guys messed up. And it was something that was meant for the honor roll students, but more so because at the time when I had study hall, because that's why I did this in study hall during that period. No one ever wanted to do it, and I felt so bad for the science teacher that was the head of the recycling program that one day I was like, I'll help you out I guess, even though I'm not an honor student, I'll help you out. And I regret that sometimes. It was a lot of work, but at least I got to help someone, right? Jake Lewis asks, how do you deal with restriction problems and time management processes? How do you deal with the person who tells you off constantly for never listening to advice, but the advice they give doesn't help you whatsoever when you do try it their way? I looked at this question and I went, okay. But I'm known for giving advice on YouTube and Twitter, so I mean, it's not really surprising to me that someone asked me this. But in terms of time management is definitely hard. It's not one of the easiest things in the world. I always tell people, what you have to do is really find priorities. Focus on what is a priority in your life. So, for example, you work. If you work, that's going to be the most of your priority. That's going to be most time, etc. Now, I always tell people also, if you really have an issue of you can't physically think in your head, oh, I don't know what amount of time I have for stuff, go and write a piece of paper. Go write down on a piece of paper. Okay, so this is what I have: 24 hours in the day, obviously, right? 5 hours are me sleeping, or 6 hours, whatever. So that means it's 18 or 19 hours that I have to do stuff. Maybe 10 of those 19 hours are work related. Okay, so that means 9 hours I got for everything else. So figure time for eating, time for family, time for friends, and you'll find that actually you can go, oh well, that's how that works. Oh shit. And then you'll realize you don't have to keep writing it down for the rest of your life, but I'm just saying, if you really have an issue, that's the simplest way. And in terms of people that don't listen to you, I don't want to quote Assassinated Classroom with this, but there was a line in season 2 that I just recently watched. I'm watching season 2 right now currently. So I'll say this right now. One of the best lines Kuro Sensei gives to his to Nagisa at the time is that if you want to talk to parents, for example, you have to speak up and let your voice be heard. Kind of true. You know, it's weird, but anime sometimes does have real life advice. And I'll say this right now: it is not hard to speak up. You know, if you feel like you're being wronged, or if you feel like something's happening in your life that you're not comfortable with, speak up. Say, hey, listen, I don't like this. Or tell your family and friends, you know, I don't like what's happening with this, or etc. Speak to people, you know, people around you, etc. Don't ever let things bottle up inside of you to the point that they explode out and you go, oh, you know, you get pissed. Because that's how people get pissed off and fly off the handle, etc. So, you know, talk. Don't be afraid to talk. Geo asks, what's the first anime you remember watching? That's not something almost everybody watches, like DBZ, Naruto, or stuff like that. What's your guilty pleasure anime series you still rewatch, or something you know isn't good at all, but you still love watching it anyways or once? And any favorite video game series you've played? Well, a few of these answered already, so I'm not going to re-answer them. I'll just briefly. Guyver, like I said, was one of the first things I ever saw in terms of like actual anime. And more so video game series, of course, Persona. Now, favorite guilty pleasure. I talked about this once in my anime talk, which, by the way, is returning eventually. I am doing the anime talk eventually. Just so busy that I can't do any videos for it. In terms of like guilty pleasure, I hate that word guilty pleasure only because I feel like if you enjoy watching it, what's so guilty about that? You know, why do you do that? I think there's a couple other people that do anime reviews that also agree with me in that statement, but if we had to really go in that realm, I would say probably the Dot Hack series, because Dot Hack has a lot of issues. Like, Dot Hack is definitely one thing that if you love Sword Art Online, you have to know Dot Hack is what's inspired Sword Art. Like, that is where everything of trapped in video games came from, was Dot Hack. But there are a lot of issues with it. And I know people love Dot Hack series and they go, oh my god, it's the greatest thing ever. It's really not. It's got a lot of issues. Like, it has some really boring stuff, and Dot Hack Sign was really boring at times. But I really kind of don't mind rewatching it over and over again, just because it's like, oh, this is one of the shows that I loved when I was younger. Definitely loved it. If I really thought about it, there's probably a lot of other anime I have, but off the top of my head, that's definitely one series that I feel like would be what I guess I would label that as. From TG5455, how do you handle a sensitive anime fan online? Have you ever been burnt out on an anime series and wanted to try something else? And do you think that sometimes the anime community tends to overhype shows too much? In terms of handling sensitive anime people, you know, I always tell people, RESPECT, respect. That's the old song. Respect goes a long way. It keeps people calm. It keeps people from going from this to this, you know? There are times where, of course, obviously that won't work because there are obviously trolls and there are people who love to get into like heated arguments over stupid shit. But, you know, one of the major things in the anime community that I think goes a long way is to treat people with respect. You know, for example, I tell people this all the time and I get a lot of heat for it. I love School Days. I think School Days is a great show. I mean, probably would have went good with my guilty pleasure anime, quote unquote, but, you know, School Days is a great show to me because it does a lot of things that are actually realistic. I know people say, oh, what realistic behind it? You know, he's sleeping with multiple girls and then he gets killed. Have you not watched the news, or have you not seen any documentaries on people that have killed their spouses or significant others because they've been caught cheating? That is a very realistic thing. That happens in real life. You know, to this day, it still happens. You know, it's not like it's something that doesn't exist. It really does. So I think School Days handles that very well of a person that gets super jealous and flips on and flies out off the handle. In terms of handling that, so just stay neutral. That's what like my best advice is. Respect someone and stay neutral to it. You know, you could side with someone because I think there are times where you're gonna have to go, okay, well, I side with this person because that person's obviously right. But if you want, make sure that you respect both sides at the same time. Be like, okay, I don't agree with you, but I respect your decision, and I respect that you say it this way because that is your opinion or that is your thought process. Because that's how it kind of is, you know. I think people forget, you know, that concept. Have you ever been burnt out in anime and you want to try something else? And by the way, I'm looking at the questions. I completely forgot off the top of my head. I've kind of hit burnt out moments in my life before. I didn't hit a lot of them. I've hit them once in a while because I'm not one to get really burnt out of watching anime. I tend to not like watching longer series only because I feel like that will burn me out if I watch like a show that's like 150 episodes or etc. That tends to burn me out because it's like I'm trying to play catch up with it. But anything that's like 12 episodes or 24 episodes really to me doesn't do the burnout effect. And there are when I do hit those moments though, I tend to just kind of step away from anime for a little while, and I just more so will do something else, like play video games, or I'll read, or etc. But I don't really have too much burned out. And do you think that sometimes the anime community tends to overhype shows too much? Yeah, yeah. Bottom line, yeah. There are a lot of people that do, yeah. From King Potato, how has anime changed your life? Best fight scene, and most importantly, your height. I always tell people this actually. Anime did something really cool to me. I think it made my spectrum of like learning about worldly stuff way higher. Because when I watched it when I was younger, it caused me to start reading things outside of my usual normal reading stuff. Because as many of you know, I actually love reading, and as a kid, I used to love reading. And the thing was that once I started watching anime, I never stopped reading, but more so when I started reading, or more so when I started watching anime, I started getting into like other books, and I started going, you know what? Like, especially if I watched anything that had medieval anime stuff, like, Berserk, for example, I started wanting to read, like, stories about, like, weapons or stories that have medieval concepts to them. So to me, I think it broadened my horizons and made me want to be more worldly in many ways. So I definitely think that was a big thing. Best fight scene? Man, there's so many good fight scenes in anime. I'll go with a very simple answer to this. One of my favorite fight scenes of recent was Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. Shiro versus Gilgamesh. That fight was amazing. I think the story was really well done for it. I think just the kind of action and all that was really, really well done. I loved it. And in terms of my height, I'm actually 6'2.5". I mean, like, I'm so close to being 6'3". My dad's actually 6'3". But I always laugh because I tell people, when I was a kid, I was very short. Actually, for a long time, I was very short. I wasn't like one of those people that's like, oh, I started off tall and then, stayed at tall. No, when I was up to like middle school / junior high, I was like a very short kid. I was 5 something. I mean, not super short, but like normal height size, I guess. But compared to my dad, for example, my dad is 6'3", and I think sometimes a little more than I think he claims he's 6'3", but I think he's like 6'4" almost. But I used to always go, I hope I become like the size of my dad, because I used to always want to be that tall. And ironically enough, when I got to junior high, I started growing larger and larger until the point that I was 6 foot, I think, 1 by, I want to say, my second year of high school. And obviously I grew another inch. And by the time I was done with high school, I was already 6'2.5". Since then I haven't grown, obviously, but yeah, I'm okay with my height. From Animal Lover 99, what is a long series you want to binge but never had the time for the episode count scares you? How'd you get your channel name, and how many times have you fallen for a trap character? So I tell people, like, for me, I would love to binge One Piece. I would love to catch up with One Piece and kind of give it an honest-to-God effort, because I've watched a few episodes of One Piece. I think I watched like maybe 10 episodes of One Piece in my life, and I've read maybe 100 chapters, maybe less than that, of the manga. But I never felt like I gave that show an honest-to-God try because of its episode count / actual count in terms of manga. And I grew up with the beginning of One Piece, but I just never got into it until later on in life, unfortunately. But the episode count scares me. I don't care what anyone says. Like, I know people tell me, oh, you can watch like the 10 episodes a day, or you could skip filler arc. First off, I don't consider skipping filler arc watching a show. If you skip filler arc, you didn't watch the show to me. I'll never say that you watched the show, because you skipped it. You skipped episodes. That's like watching a TV program and skipping like 50 episodes because it's all not canon to the story. It's still part of the actual show. So it might be, side stories or whatever, but you're not watching it, so you aren't finishing the series. I'm sorry. That's just, I don't care who you say or what you say. That's the bottom line to that. In terms of my channel name, there's nothing really grand about it, to be honest with you. I used to love the concept of like ninjas. I used to think that was really cool when I was younger. Like, mind you, this is when I was like 17 years old, but ninjas were kind of cool to me. I used to love them in anime, and I used to love them in just general. I mean, even video games, I used to always play like assassin classes and stuff like that. In terms of the Blade part, I used to think that their character, I don't know if many people know about the movie series Blade. I think Blade was one of the coolest, like, I want to say Wesley Snipes movies out there, because I thought it was always really cool how he was a vampire / vampire hunter, and I used to always think that was really cool in general to watch. So I kind of just fused the names together. So I was like, Blade, Ninja, both together. I know it sounds really lame, but for me, that's kind of stuck. So, I mean, most people call me the first, in general, I mean, all my online aliases, like, I go by various names from, Xbox and PlayStation, of course, obviously, but all those names, they've always ever called me the first part of my name anyways. So, like, for example, one of the parts of my first name on Xbox is Final, and so most people call me Final. They don't read the whole title of my name. So I'm like, Blade, I guess most people are going to associate me with if I put Blade as the first name of it, people associate me with that. So I'm like, okay, so let me put BladeNinja, and lo and behold, everyone did exactly what I thought they'd do. They call me Blade. So I always tell people, kind of sad about that fact that, you know, there's nothing grandiose behind it. Like, I know some people go, oh, I made my name for this and that. It's very simple. In terms of trap characters, I have not fallen for trap characters. I'm pretty good, and I've had people test me because, like, oh, they show me images of someone and they go, girl or guy. I'm like, that's a guy. And they're like, how the hell did you notice? I mean, like, he's using, I'm just like, I know, I feel like it for some reason. I have not fallen for a trap character ever in anime or manga, so I'm like, yeah, we keep that trend going. Hopefully one day I won't fall for it. I really hope to God I never fall for it, but there are times where people have actually thought characters are traps, and I'm like, that's not a trap, that's actually a girl. They're like, what? No, like, people have thought, and I've had people argue with me, Infinite Stratos, Charlotte's a girl, but people say it's a trap character. I'm like, that's a girl, that's not a guy. I mean, she dressed up as a guy in the beginning to fool everyone else, but that's a girl. I'm like, sometimes traps really do work on people and really cause people to go, what? Oh my god. I have not fallen for a trap character, and I hope to God I never do. Paul Gavin asks, do you prefer dub or sub? For the most part, I prefer dub. I know people go, oh, how can, you know, you've watched like 90% of your anime sub. What's wrong with you? Oh my god, the world's gonna come to an end because you prefer dub. Listen, I always tell people, I like dub, I do. But I watch sub, and I think sub is very superior sometimes. But I prefer dub only for one fact. That's because typically when something is actually dubbed, I can focus on the screen. I can focus on, if I miss something, I can still hear what's being said, and I don't miss like certain things. A lot of times too with sub, you know, there are times where people sub things incorrectly, etc. Like, you know, they translate at the bottom incorrectly. But also I can't focus on the screen as much when I'm reading and then having to look up and reading and then look up, etc. So for me, I do prefer dub. But I'll say this right now, there are plenty of dub that are really bad that are just garbage, and I'll be like, I'll watch that show with sub all day long. Carlos David asked, top 5 anime/manga, top 3 anime genre, and goal for your YouTube channel in 2017. Top 5 anime, that's... Oof. I always make a top 10 list of all stuff, and I always tend to forget like what's on there, to be honest with you. I don't know why. I typically do, though, for some reason. Off the top of my head, I'm going to go with probably ReZero being, of course, obviously my top. I love ReZero. I love Clannad. I love Bakemonogatari. I love Higurashi, and I would say Dustman Amnesia. That's just the ones I could think of off the top of my head. I mean, I do have more. If you guys want, I'll put in the description box my top like 10 favorite anime. I do actually have a list of that, and that's like the listing of in order of like stuff I really love. In terms of manga, oh boy, there's a lot of manga I really do. I love Samurai Deeper Kill. I love the Town Where You Live, which unfortunately never got an English release, which still pisses me off to this day. I really am digging Assassination Classroom. I think that's really fun to read. I really enjoyed Bleach when it was at its high moments. I know Bleach has a lot of issues nowadays with a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of people kind of dislike it, but in terms of fifth, though, I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm trying to too. That's the sad part, but if I get back to it in my head, and if I remember it before the end of this actual part of this video, I'll actually put it in terms of like my top 3 favorite genres. That's easy. I love romance, I love sci-fi, and I love mystery. I think those are my favorite genres by far. You know, anything of the combination of the two is just amazing. Or those 3 in general, the combination is something that'll instantly win me over. So, do love that. In terms of goals for my YouTube channel of 2017, there are a lot of things I have planned for 2017 in general. First and foremost, very important, I do plan on making a lot of different changes to my YouTube channel. Like, I want to get a better editing software. I tell people, like, I know a lot of people say, why don't you use this or that, Sony Vegas or whatever. I realize that's probably way better, obviously. I mean, I use Movie Maker. I know people give me shit for using Movie Maker. Like, how can you still use Movie Maker in 2017? What's wrong with you? One, I'm still learning how to edit stuff. Movie Maker is probably the easiest software to learn how to edit videos. It is like so bare minimum, but that's the same thing that for me, because I'm a very late bloomer to computers. Like, I grew up with computers per se, but at the same time, I didn't have a computer in my house up till like I was like 10 years old, 11 years old. So there was a lot of years that skipped by me when computers came out, and I was like, I don't know how to use a computer correctly. Up till recently, I would not have been able to make a video like this, but now I'm getting better and better. So yeah, I will upgrade the video type eventually, but for the most part, for my reviews, I don't need a better editing software, because what do I do that's so grandiose in general that needs, Sony Vegas or stuff like that? To me, honestly, but that's just my opinion. In terms of like content, though, I think that's what I want to talk about. And I'm glad you asked this question. I want to do a lot more video series on this. I really do. I like mixing it up. I know some videos are more popular and some videos are less popular, etc. But I like having different stuff, because the thing is that people will appeal to a channel, I think, in general, when you have a mix-up of stuff that's still in the genre. So like, I'm still gonna be doing anime-related stuff, but I want to do more anime talks. Obviously, I want to do more top 10s, more top 5s, which is coming out soon. The top 5, because some things you can't do top 10. I'll explain later about that in my top 5 video when that comes out, like probably sometime this week. Which is coming out sometime this week, because it's kind of like an apology that I haven't done a lot of videos recently. I mean, I've been doing reviews, obviously, but I haven't been doing like anime talk and stuff like that, or even like my advice corner, etc. But I just kind of want to make my channel better, and the steps for me to do that in general aren't getting better software or anything like that, but just me getting better as a reviewer / me doing better in the YouTube community. Like, I mean, already I think I'm getting a lot better. I have a face cam that's actually, or excuse me, a webcam that's actually 1080p, so I think the quality looks pretty good for the most part. I know, like, my glass, you can see the shine off, but there's really, for me, there's no way of fixing that because of my setup. But it's a hobby, so for me, doing stuff better to get more subs is important, yes, but at the same time, I'm not going to compromise what is more important for me. And I still, to the beginning of my channel, I always said this, for me, it's about the voice. My voice, to me, is more important than all the editing software. I think that, if, for example, if you read an anime review, or if you read a blog or something like that, what they say and what they dictate to you is important. That is where they're coming from. And in terms of video stuff, I don't really need to do super amounts of, editing, like, oh, look at these visual flares and all this stuff. It's not necessary. I mean, I'm doing anime reviews on an episode. I'm talking about an episode. I'm talking about what my thoughts are on that. That's it. My reviews, if you notice, I've been changing up slightly because I've kind of wanted to improve those, because I want to make them better. I want to do less of a synopsis and more so my opinion on stuff. So what I've been doing with a lot of my, like, I want to say the last couple months, I've been actually mitigating a lot of images. Like, I've only had like maybe 5 or 4 images per episode, unless there's like something, a lot of stuff happened and I have a whole bunch of images. But I do that so this way, for one, I could avoid copyright strike, because that shit happens like no matter what. But 2 is that when I do that, what happens is that I actually can, focus more on talking about my opinion of an episode. Be like, I feel like this episode was really strong. I feel like this episode was weak, etc. More than just kind of going, okay, this happened first, and this happened next, and this happened next. No, I want to get out of that trope, and I was kind of like finding myself falling into that category a little bit before, but now I'm starting to get out of that, which is cool. And I know a lot of people are actually appreciating that and they're noticing it, so I'm happy about that. But in general, I do have a lot of changes, and I will, of course, always, as usual, I will update you guys on every change I make for the channel, because, yeah, this is my channel, yes, but it's also something that I want you guys to enjoy. That's why I always ask you guys to hit the like button. It's not because I care about money or anything like that, or sub count. I want people to enjoy my content, and for me to see the enjoyment of that, you have to hit the like button, or you have to comment. If you don't like, I don't really know what's going on. I don't know if you like the video. And I know people dislike my video because they're just either jealous or they don't like the fact of, like, oh, someone has a different opinion on them. Perfectly fine too. You give me a view count on it. I don't care if you dislike or not. I mean, you give me a free view. No matter what, you're still hitting the video. I mean, if it's like 10 seconds, there you go. But yeah, so I do have a lot of changes planned, and I hope to God that I can execute them. If I can't, of course, I'll tell you guys, but I'm definitely going to try to make a better channel overall in 2017. Heavy Metal Fan 5000 asked, do you have any hobbies besides anime? Which anime do you recommend people if they're looking for a series like Lucky Star? And what will you say when you have 1,000 subscribers? In terms of other stuff besides anime, I read a lot. Obviously, I tell people I read like maybe 2 to 3 books a month. Recently, it's kind of been diminished to like 2 books a month, only because I've had less time in terms of all the stuff that's been happening, crazy stuff that's happened in general. Outside of just reading, I also, play video games, obviously, but I'm also really passionate about writing. I love writing. I think writing is one of my biggest hobbies of all time, besides even reading, all that. I love to write. I love to kind of express my ideals and just more so, express my thoughts. Like, in terms of making a story, I think one of the biggest things about, writing any story is kind of making your thoughts, your imagination become real by putting it on paper. And typing is just the same. It's not really much of a difference, but I do love writing on pencil and paper. Um, I do some fanfics, and I do recommendations. Like if you ask me to do a fanfic, I'll do one for you. But I used to do them more for my ex-girlfriend. She used to love my writing of fan fictions, and she really enjoyed them. Obviously, when I stopped dating her, I found no reason to do fan fictions anymore. But if you guys in the comments ever want me to do a fan fiction of a certain character, and you want me to do a read along thing for it, I don't mind doing that. In terms of what question did you ask me besides that? I'm sorry. Let me look it up real fast. Which anime do you recommend people if they're looking for a series like Lucky Star? I would say if you really like Lucky Star and you want something just as crazy as it, look at Azumanga Daioh. Azumanga Daioh is a very similar kind of, I want to say, not with the chibi characters. They're fully drawn characters, but there's just craziness to it. It's like every episode's crazy. A new series I started watching, I forgot how to pronounce it exactly, but it's called like Nichimoro or something like that. It's hectic. It's all over the place, but it's so much fun to watch. Stuff like Achikochi. Achikochi is a very cutesy anime, and I love it. I mean, I have some issues with the ending, of course, but it's a fun show to watch. Watch Achikochi if you love cute anime. And what will you say when you have 1,000 subscribers? I don't know, because as much as I want 1,000 subscribers, I've never went, oh, I'm gonna hit 1,000 soon. I've been more so like hoping I hit 1,000, but as I think you get used to kind of having a very slow burn to getting to higher numbers. Like I mean, right now, like I said, I'm 779, which is great, but it's like I'm still very far away from 1,000. It's still 200 plus people away. But when I hit 1,000, I think I'm just gonna talk to you guys and probably make a long update video and talk about like various things and all that. But I do plan on saying thank you when I do hit that. But in terms of anything else, I can't say what I'm gonna say exactly because I haven't hit that number yet. My only question from Twitter goes, Jackson G, what color Power Ranger are you? Realistically, if I was a Power Ranger, I'd probably be the Blue Ranger. Like, I mean, because I don't see myself as a super athletic type, but I think like the original Power Rangers, the Blue Ranger was always associated with the one that's like more brains than brawn. So for me, yeah, definitely Blue Ranger. Yeah, by the way, I loved Power Rangers when I was a kid. Don't judge me for that. Like, Power Rangers is amazing. There's nothing wrong with Power Rangers. God, people probably don't like cats and puppies and the Power Rangers. People disgust me. Just kidding. Chris MC asked, what's your name? Where do you live? What's your gender? Just kidding. Don't answer that top question. But are you still planning on doing top 5/10s? And are you planning to do something new to the channel? Now I gotta answer these questions. You asked me these questions, and I don't care if you said joke. Just kidding. Gotta answer them. What's your name? Aaron. Obviously, I'm not gonna give you my full name because I do have a Facebook, and I don't want people finding my Facebook unless I have really stupid stuff on Facebook. Not in terms of like anything bad, more so I don't use it. So I have like older pictures of myself, and no, it's terrible. Where do you live? I live in New York. I'm not gonna give you my exact address because that'd be weird. I mean, one day maybe I'll give you guys like a P.O. box if I ever get like super big on YouTube. Otherwise, no. And what's your gender? Male, obviously. But are you still planning on doing top 5s and 10s? Yeah, I do plan on still doing those. As I said in the video actually before, probably. I do want to pump those out a little bit more often because I know they don't do that well on my channel, but they really do have success sometimes also because I've had some top 10s hit like 1K on my channel and stuff like that. But I think it's fun to do. They're really time consuming, and for me, they take a while because I have to talk. And I have to also make sure they're not like this long of a video. Like this video is gonna be like 30 something minutes plus. You guys asked me a lot of questions. I do appreciate that, but you asked me a lot of questions, which is awesome. I'm happy about that. But yeah, I do plan on doing those. And are you planning on doing something new to the channel? As I talked about before, which I kind of answered this question, I do have plans to do newer things for the channel. It's obviously going to be, some stuff's going to be hit or miss. I'm going to try different things, see what kind of sticks and what doesn't. Anyways, guys and girls, that's it for my Q&A. I finally finished this thing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I really hope to God that you guys enjoyed this. It was, I know it was supposed to come out many weeks ago, but I'm so appreciative that you guys weren't flipping out that it didn't come out on time. You know, obviously, like, I had all the stuff that happened in my life. You know, it's been making things very hectic, and I've been at a very kind of bad place in my life recently. More so, it's not because I'm, not happy or healthy or anything like that. It's just more so because the various stresses that I'm dealing with kind of suck, and there's stuff that I wish on no one, because it's not that I can't deal with them. Obviously, I'm still here. I'm dealing with them, every day, but it still sucks to deal with them. And I hope that you guys understand that. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you, but for the most part, you guys have put in the comments, your condolences when one thing happened to me a couple weeks ago, and also just in general when I broke up my ex, which really kind of sucked. That was probably one of the most heartbreaking things that happened to me in recent history. You guys were right there on Twitter going, hey, hopefully, you find someone better. I know some of you got mad at the other person. I'm glad I never told you guys who the other person was, because if I did, I know you guys would have fought to defend me, and I don't want that for the other person, because they're not a bad person at all by any means. They're a very good person. You know, they're just immature when it comes to a lot of things, and that kind of caused our breakup in general. But that doesn't make them a bad person. It just makes them immature. So they don't deserve any backlash and stuff like that. And I hope no one notices or finds out. And like I said before, if someone does find out, I'm going to make sure to nip that in the bud. I won't tell you guys if you're right or wrong with it, because I don't want people finding out about it. But anyways, guys and girls, I will talk to you later. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Like I said before, have a great, blessed day, everyone. Bye-bye.